Let me ask you something, partner. How far would you go for justice? What would you risk to make things right? Well, let me tell you a tale of a man who abides by no laws. They call him the Red Light Robin Hood.
Okay, in order to do this successfully, you only need a pair of balls and a painter's extension rod. I'm going to show you how easy it is to take the power back.
This is Stephen Ruth of Suffolk County, New York. He's been arrested multiple times for disabling red light cameras. At first, pushing them up with a painter's rod, and later, just straight cutting the wires.
We arrested Stephen Ruth. He's charged currently with 2 counts of criminal mischief.
And he wasn't trying to be secretive about it either. He posted his crimes to Facebook and YouTube. You see that? That's not just his profile picture, that's his mugshot.
Okay, my name is Stephen Ruth. You guys obviously know me. I'm fresh out of jail for messing around with red light cameras again.
Stephen can be a little dramatic.
We need all of the presidential candidates to address this issue. You're a corrupt politician as well then.
Well, let me tell you something. You don't want to be corrupt. You've got 2 felonies and 8 misdemeanors, and a year from now, you're going to be in state prison.
You're a coward!
Oh, I'm not a
You're a coward!
Here.
You're a coward!
I'm facing you. You're a coward!
Do not accuse this legislature of criminal intent. You're wrong.
The 3-minute thing is a joke, just like the systematic form of extortion. Oh yeah, now I'm sitting back down. I'm not done now. You want to start trying to forcefully remove me? All right, let's go. You guys wanna watch?
At first glance, he probably resembles a chaotic lunatic claiming government conspiracy, when really, he's just angry that he got a few traffic tickets. In fact, the thing that a lot of people who oppose red light cameras have in common is they got ticketed.
If I never got a ticket, I wouldn't have been against it either.
The only reason why I got into this is that I got a red light camera ticket.
I mean, if you don't like red light cameras, just don't run red lights. And that's what I thought too, until I dug a little deeper.
So I released the video, and then the cops came to my house, so I went to put my hands out to go to jail, and they were like, dude, we're not putting handcuffs on you. You're doing the right thing.
I noticed that we're in a middle-income, working-class area, and there's cameras everywhere.
It all started one day after church when I was talking to my priest, and I said, Father, have you ever gotten a red light camera ticket? And he said, yeah, I did actually. I got multiple. I never broke the law in my life, nor did I do anything wrong in the red light camera tickets that I got. And he said, I'm telling you, it's a scam. I said, all right, I'll look further into it. I came back a week later, and I said, Father, I think you're right. I had already made this video saying, all you need is a painter's extension rod and a pair of balls. He said, you released that video on social media, you're going to jail. I have the feeling you're right, but I think it is kind of necessary that people wake up to this. He says, well, if you're willing to go to jail to take on that program and to try and make a change, he says, you're probably doing the right thing for everybody.
Just don't run red lights, but it's not as simple as that. Like we said, most of these violations are fractions of a second.
So here's what I do with these. I get these in the mail, I come out of this, and these.
Red light cameras are evil.
It's not safe. It's not safe.
People stop too short, stop too quick.
Red light cameras have been criticized a lot more than you would expect. Most cities are doing away with them entirely, others repurposing them as speed cameras. But why? What's wrong with red light cameras? They have been called a revenue-generating system focused on making money instead of promoting safety. And no place is this more apparent than in Suffolk County, the town of the Red Light Robin Hood.
In 2015, I saw Stephen Ruth do this video where he popped up the cameras with an extension rod, and I realized, oh my God, I'm not alone.
This is Hector Gavia, the man who brought to light the contract between Xerox and Suffolk County for the red light camera program. In there, it says that every ticket that the red light cameras produce, Xerox gets a cut. Furthermore, if a red light camera doesn't produce enough tickets, the city has to pay a fine and move the camera. Furthermore, the city doesn't even get to decide where the cameras go. Xerox does. Now, I'm sorry, when did we start allowing corporations to decide how we enforce laws?
What, do you live under a rock?
Xerox has since changed the name of the company that manages the cameras to Conduent, which was still just owned by Xerox until 2017. And guess what? The cameras didn't even work properly. This one is taking a picture before the car has even crossed the line. This camera is just on a picture rampage. Yeehaw! 100% visibility, making a right turn on red. We gotcha now, you scoundrel. Okay, so you just fight this kind of stuff in court, right? Not exactly.
If you go to the red light camera court in Suffolk County, the judge is a real asshole. You go there, and they'll tell you to be there at 9 a.m. The judge doesn't show up until 9:30. Then when he shows up at 9:30, he literally spends a half hour discussing the benefits of the red light camera program, how it made him and his family much better drivers, and basically telling everybody that you're wasting your time, you're trying to fight it because the camera doesn't lie, the computers don't lie, you're going to be guilty. Then it's 10 o'clock, so the people have been there for at least an hour now, right? And they took off of work to be there, and he'll say at 10 o'clock, listen, I'm going to go take a coffee break because I really need a break. And he says, listen, if you change your mind, we're going to be here all day. So if you change your mind and you want to just pay it, the woman next to me over here, she'll take your, credit card and you can just pay for it now and be on your way.
Okay, blah, blah, blah. Corporations are evil. The legal system's broken. I've heard it all before, but that still doesn't excuse someone from running red lights, right? Well, hold on to your hats, folks, because this is where things fly off the saddle. If I asked you, why do you think people run red lights? You might say they're running late or being careless, but you probably wouldn't guess that they're physically unable to stop safely. After all, that's why we have yellow lights, to allow for cars who cannot stop safely enough time to make it through the intersection. Well, how do engineers calculate yellow light times? To answer this, I contacted Brian Ciccarelli. He's made a name for himself in the traffic engineering world by stating that the calculation used for determining yellow lights is completely wrong.
So I did some research, started doing research, and sure enough, about 2 weeks later, I found the equation that traffic engineers use to set the duration of a yellow light. Well, it's wrong.
Is that the ITE equation that's used for traffic lights?
Yes, it is the ITE equation. And so I've been fighting this sort of thing in courts since 2009.
Now, Brian is a licensed engineer, completely equipped to discuss basic physics, but just to be safe, I went and checked out the equations for myself. Now, I'm just a poor YouTuber. I don't know nothing about these fancy mathematics. I had to call a little help. I showed these equations to a friend of mine. We'll call him L. L has a master's in mathematics and actually works in automotive safety. He hadn't seen any of my findings or listened to any of my interviews before this point. I simply asked him, what do you think of these equations?
Okay, and so this is a formula to presumably calculate the amount of time for yellow light, right?
Correct.
It seems like, I don't know, you can probably characterize yellow light intervals a number of ways. This looks like a way. I'd want to plug in some values to see, if I believe it or not. So off by a factor of 2. Okay, I'm going to go through this one more time. So the high level overview is that I don't think you can actually stop that fast. That equation says that the interval that a yellow light is going to increase as you increase the speed limit is going to not be in sync with physics. So it gets more wrong the faster you go.
Let me see if I can summarize things. And I'm going to be speaking in terms of feet and miles. So, sorry everybody else, but I speak American.
English, motherfucker!
First off, the equation assumes that human reaction time is about 1 second. Now, I know a lot of you gamers out there see this as pretty slow, but this is actually quite ambitious for driving.
What is happening?
For a multitude of reasons that I don't really want to spend a lot of time dwelling on in this video, so sure, let's say it's 1 second. Next point. The equation assumes that the average stopping speed is 10 feet per second. This is actually pretty reasonable. Now, let's put this all together. If you're traveling at 45 miles per hour or 66 feet per second, and there is no slope to the road, you're going straight, braking at 10 feet per second with a reaction time of 1 second, which again is ambitious, this equation says the yellow light should be 4.3 seconds. All right, let's try to put this into practice. You're traveling at 45 miles an hour or 66 feet per second. You will travel this far during the yellow light. Minus reaction time, a car braking at 10 feet per second, starting at the same speed, will travel this far in order to come to a full stop. The problem lies in this zone. In this area, you cannot stop before the light at 10 feet per second braking, and if you maintain your speed, you're just gonna run the red light.
Wow, it sounds like it's a pretty tight margin of error there.
There's no margin of error.
There's not much you can do here. You either need to slam on the brakes or put on the gas in order to abide by the traffic rules. I hope it's starting to become clear that this is not a reasonable average for safe stopping at a traffic light. And if you're a truck or school bus, good luck.
The formula originally came from 3 physicists, Denos Gaziz, Alexei Moradudin, and Robert Herman. Robert Herman, one of the authors, what prompted him to write this paper, he was taking his wife to the hospital, and there's this red light in the middle of nowhere in the middle of the night. He got a ticket from him like 1955. So he got his buddies, Denos Gaziz and Alexei, to help him write this paper. So they wrote this paper, had this equation in it, and they say this equation is only good for a specific type of traffic movement. Well, ITE picked up that formula 5 years later, removed all the assumptions, took it out of context, and used it for everything.
Wow, it sounds like what he made was never intended for a general purpose use.
Darn right. This hat does not fit all.
Now, you might be thinking, wait a minute, I've driven before. I've seen yellow lights and been able to stop perfectly fine. And you're right, because city engineers don't use this equation. I went to a traffic light in my town and physically timed it. When I plugged in all the parameters, this equation said the yellow light time should be 3.5 seconds. But in reality, the actual duration of the yellow light was 7 seconds, double what the equation was giving me.
When I'm giving lectures to like professional engineering societies, I put up this equation. I put up ITE's equation and I ask, anybody see anything wrong with this equation? And it takes about 5 seconds for somebody to throw up their hand and go, hey, what's that 2 doing in the denominator?
I'm looking at this equation that they have, and there's a 2 on the bottom. I don't have the 2.
I think a lot of engineers and city planners just see this equation as wrong, unsure of what the f this 2 in the denominator is supposed to be for, and they use something more reasonable.
Oh, they got this all screwed up.
After all, in the US, there's no legal requirement for traffic times, just recommendations. So most use something more appropriate. But some people still use this equation. Can you think of a yellow light in your area that, for some reason, is just way faster than all the others? this might be why. But they're just using the ITE standards, right? It's standard procedure. Nothing illegal going on, right?
Not illegal, not illegal. Show me the law, not illegal.
The problem is, this standard engineering equation is completely unreasonable. And you know what is illegal? Not getting engineering approval on traffic light times and red light cameras. Which brings us back to Suffolk County. The lights in Suffolk County are pretty short, and many of them also have red light cameras attached. So now there's a zone where you can't stop or go without running a red light, and the city is going to try to make some money off of that. And I couldn't believe it until I saw it, but none of these traffic changes and plans were ever signed off by licensed engineers.
That makes every single intersection in illegal operation.
This might come as a surprise to you, but a lot of the residents and people who engage in local government know all too well what Suffolk County is capable of.
Our county is the most corrupt county in the nation.
Suffolk County Police Department is probably the highest paid police department in the country. More than half the officers make over $200,000 a year, and quite a few of them make over $300,000 a year. We had to sell our town hall and lease it back because we needed money to pay these salaries. It's corrupt. Look, I'm not saying the Republicans wouldn't do the same thing, but the Democrats control everything in Suffolk County.
So if one party, doesn't matter if it's Republican or Democrat, gets too much control, these oddities start coming up?
Absolutely. I was a cop for 25 years. I was in the FBI Violent Crimes Task Force. I dealt with some of the worst people in the world. And I gotta tell you, they have more integrity than a lot of the politicians I work with. The head of public corruption got arrested for public corruption. Our chief of police went to federal prison. The IT director was arrested. In law enforcement, you know what the old adage is? We only catch the stupid ones.
This corruption is kind of like the tip of the iceberg, sounds like.
Absolutely. Oh, 100%.
After looking at all of this, the emergence of the red light Robin Hood is starting to make a lot more sense.
The third party, Xerox, obtaining the videos, profiting from our convictions, that's not constitutional.
I think that you're all going to end up in court over this.
Stephen's video was pulling people in a big way. His band of merry men went from council meeting to council meeting, protesting these insane traffic enforcements. Other people were joining in too. Police officers, paramedics, concerned citizens. The movement started to grow, but nothing seemed to change. And these short yellow lights were not just causing tickets, they were causing injury and death. One of many being John Luke Jr. In 2015, John was in a car accident that resulted in his death.
And there was probably a lot more people like John Luke Jr. that may have been killed this way.
The crash occurred at an intersection that had been heavily criticized for its short yellow lights. He was only 16.
And we want answers. Nobody's given any answers.
His father never even got to see the entire video of the collision, despite a red light camera being right there.
It's gone too far. Too many people have died now. Too many people have died.
After all of this, they finally decided to do a third-party investigation into the red light camera program, so we have some good, solid data. This study concluded that the red light camera program was a good thing. It reduced fatal injury crashes by an amount that justified its existence. But let's actually read that study. Looking at the data for the intersections that had red light cameras installed, crashes went way up. On almost every single intersection that had a red light camera, the total number of crashes increased by a significant amount. So the study started to break the crash data down into types of accidents. Rear end, right angle, head on, a whole bunch of categories. In almost every single category, crashes are up. The one category that stands out is right angle collisions, which were down. These usually cause a lot more damage and personal injury or death, so the cost is a lot greater. However, when looked closely at the fatal injury crashes, they noted that it was a little hazy. There's a handful of red light camera intersections in which injury is up, and a handful in which it's down. Over here, they say that the fatal and injury crash increase is so small that no conclusions should be made. Except in their own conclusions, in which they state that fatal injury is definitely, completely, most definitely down. Well, which is it? Can no conclusions be made, or are you making conclusions? Well, I'm sure after reading this, everyone had the same skepticism that I did. I mean, the data clearly shows an increase in crashes except in a few areas. People must have been hesitant to reinstate the red light camera program, right? No. They probably just read the conclusion and thought, wow, red light cameras are saving us $5 million. How do you calculate $5 million? Don't worry about it. It's all standard procedure. This is all standard. We don't need to show you how we calculated it. It's standard. So they reinstated the program for another 5 years. It seemed like the fight against Suffolk County was going nowhere. Not until one ambitious lawyer joined the fight. He was going to take on this red light camera program, and this was his strategy. You see, when the state of New York wanted to implement the red light camera program, they wrote up Section 1111B, which stated that you couldn't charge more than $50 for a red light camera ticket and no more than $25 for a late fee. Well, in Suffolk County, they were charging $50 a ticket and a $30 administration fee and the $25 late fee. Wait a minute, New York State says you can't do that. And thus, a class action lawsuit was born.
Well, it seems like the yellow lights at some traffic signals are shorter. Well, it may not be your imagination.
Drivers found guilty of red light camera violations. A $30 fee on top of the cost of the ticket has been ruled unconstitutional by a state judge.
Wouldn't you take those cameras down immediately? They haven't. They've left them up for years. And I gotta tell you, the county's gonna be liable for these accidents.
This was stirring up trouble in a big way. Because of his relentless pursuit in this issue, it seemed like Stephen was getting some serious backlash.
Now, I had friends that worked at the town, and they would tell me, Steve, they're talking about you. They hate you right now. They're going to try and run you out of town. And then my friends who worked for the building department or for the town would get fired. They fired them just for knowing me. I saw cars parked up the block from my house. I saw cars parked right out in front of my house. I saw people walking in front of my house taking pictures. My dog disappeared. You know, it just goes on and on and on.
Your dog disappeared?
Yeah, my dog disappeared without a trace.
And this kind of all happened right after you started posting videos?
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Not to mention, the media barely covered the issue. They would point and laugh at Stephen, but they wouldn't always talk about why he was doing it, at least not in a deep or meaningful way.
For the removal of the red light camera program in Suffolk County and on all county roads and town roads.
Okay. This might have something to do with the fact that the company that owned the local news network at the time also supplied networking service to all the red light cameras.
We tried to reach out to the man who died in this pursuit. They were unavailable for comment.
Red light Robin Hood strikes again on Long Island.
The only time I'm going to have a fair say is in front of a jury of my peers.
Stephen has tried running for office, but he didn't get far. He wasn't getting the support he was looking for in the media or the community, and he ended up leaving Suffolk County.
The reason why I left was because they keep changing laws and codes and making it so that it's like impossible to live there. If I want to be able to live comfortably, I can't do it in New York.
Do you miss it at all, Suffolk County?
You know what? My family said, Steve, you can't go anywhere without people being like, wow, it's a red light camera Robin Hood, you know? I risked my freedom, and I expected a lot more people to stand up. And when I saw that the people just said, no, we don't have to worry, we have the red light Robin Hood fighting for us, I said, you know what, that's not how it works. So when I finally sold all my properties and finished all my new constructions, I was, sitting good with finances, and I left. When I came down to Florida, I said, it's going to be weird not knowing anybody. But when I got here, and they don't even know me at all, but they're so welcoming into their circles of friends that I don't miss it. I thought I was going to miss it. I don't miss it. I go out and I have a great time with the people I met here, and I don't think I would trade it. I said I'll go back to New York one day, but I'll just go back to New York when they crash the market and I can buy properties for dirt cheap again.
Stephen just had enough. The corruption, the bureaucracy, the lack of action, all of it had him searching for greener pastures.
I am a poor, wayfaring stranger, wandering through this world of woe.
I did what I had to do. I risked a lot.
But there's no sorrow, toil, or danger in that bright land to which I go. I'm going there to see my father. I'm going there, no more to roam.
It goes so deep it would blow your mind.
I'm just a-going over Jordan. I'm only going over home.
New York had lost a folk hero, but the legend of the Red Light Robin Hood lives on.
That boy is our last hope.
No, there is another.
I'm here before you for the 8th time. So that's where we have the civil rights violation.
Can you wrap up, please, Matt? You have the 5 minutes.
People are getting tickets for going through a red light, not because of a tenth of a second on a yellow.
This is the board's order that I received to stop me from talking about traffic signals and where they fined me $500.
The First Amendment guarantees to every American their right to debate anything and everything.
There are a lot of people being in this situation here in Oregon, and I'm proud to stand here to represent them. Very proud.
So decades and decades and decades this has been being used incorrectly?
Yes.
That blows my mind.
Drivers making turns at intersections often get caught in a dilemma zone.
Why is no one willing to listen?
I don't know.
They're still just recommendations.
They are only recommendations. Most cities follow them in this country.
But the agency basically responded with a threat. A 2-year investigation into this.
People did believe him. I didn't believe him. People thought he was a quack. And it turns out he's been right the entire time.
He fought and won a battle to change the rules regulating yellow and red light cameras.
Friday morning, the official journal of the Institute of Transportation Engineers, or ITE, was published.
Today, the organization that sets traffic policy recommendations for this country declared he's right. The city should be using his formula. After everything he's been through, it is an emotional day. And here you are all these years later. You were right.
Yeah. It's very emotional, as you can see. So it's been a long battle.
When Johnny comes marching home again, hurrah, hurrah, we'll give him a hearty welcome then, hurrah, hurrah. The men will cheer and the boys will shout, the ladies, they will all turn out and we'll all feel gay when Johnny comes marching home. The old church bell will peal with joy, hurrah, hurrah, to welcome home our darling.
Well, howdy there, partner. Thanks for watching my video. Be sure to like and comment and subscribe.
I'm so sorry. Hey, how's it going? I know it's been a while, but I hope I was worth the wait. I wanted to give you 3 quick announcements here. 1, huge thank you to everyone who agreed to let me interview them for this project. It really took the video to the next level, so thank you so much for participating in that way. Secondly, this video is not a call to action. Do not engage in criminal behavior. Don't harass anybody. Don't be
sticking your snake in other people's boots.
Christ. Am I really pushing for that Wild West theme yet? Okay, last announcement. I got a ton of amazing feedback on the last video, and I really appreciate everyone engaging in that way. It really helps me learn and grow and produce better content as a creator, so thank you so much. And some of you had some ideas for some future videos, and wink wink, one of those might be being worked on right now. Ooh. So in case you want to share your thoughts and opinions in a more interactive space, I created one of these. Ooh, so check the link in the description for that bad boy. For everyone else, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
He was once on the same side of the law as the Suffolk County officers, but this morning, 49-year-old District Court Judge Robert Sakali was walked out of the 3rd Precinct in handcuffs. Police say he tried to run, but they caught him nearby with pairs of underwear in a jacket pocket.
He did indicate in his confession that he has urges to steal women's underwear.